Okay, 8.3 level 1. Remember way back when we started simplifying square roots and we said with square roots you can't have a negative, so we would say with no solution. That's because we haven't talked about this thing called imaginary numbers. So when you take a square root of a negative, it doesn't really exist because no number times itself is going to be negative without three numbers being multiplied together. So with the square root, I'm still going to break it down how I normally would into 6 and 6. And then since I have a pair here, I can take the 6 out. But because the 36 is negative, I'm going to have a 6, but I'm going to include an I in it to represent that it's imaginary. Okay? So with negative 27, I'm still going to simplify by 9 and 3, and then 3 and 3. So I have a pair of 3, so a 3 will come out. And because the 27 was negative and I'm taking the square root of it, I need to put an I there to represent that it's imaginary. And then inside will be a positive 3. Okay, so because the I is on the outside, it represents that somewhere along the way I took a square root of a negative number. Okay, and then in C, I've got the square root of 49, so I know that's going to be 7 and 7. And again, because that 49 is negative, I'm going to take a 7i. That's going to equal a 7i. And then just like before, I'm going to just multiply when I have a number out front. I'm just going to multiply by the negative 3. So this answer is going to be negative 21i. Okay, and last one in D, when you have root times root, you can multiply the numbers together. I would always simplify first just to make sure that the numbers are just smaller, easier to work with. So with 81, I'm going to break down it into 9 and 9. So that is a perfect square, and because 81 is negative, I'm going to have 9i. And then the 4 can break down into 2 and 2. So this is going to be times 4i. And now I can multiply 9 times 4, which is 36. And then I times I is just like multiplying x times x. It's going to be I squared. Now something we'll learn a little bit later is that I squared equals negative 1. So instead of I squared, I can multiply 36 times negative 1 for a final answer of negative 36. Okay, so I squared equals negative 1. That's what you have to remember. Okay, so simplify square roots just like you would if the number is positive, but if you're taking the square root, just take out an I with it, and any leftovers are going to be a positive left underneath the square root.